Some teachers, and include TAs in that as well, have no idea. Absolutely no idea. One such teacher was my teacher, Mr. Hill. He had no idea. Absolutely no idea of the difference that it would have in my life. I was brought up in a disadvantaged background. I was on the at-risk register, children's homes, foster families. I was off the rails. I was breaking into my school. I was shoplifting. But Mr. Hill, my English teacher, he was able to see beyond my behaviour, past my postcode, and he allowed me to access that potential that I did not know that I had. See, that's what teachers do, isn't it? That's what some teachers do. But that year, 1982-3, it's when I met Mr. Hill, my English teacher. And Mr. Hill comes up to me. He had no idea, as I said. Absolutely no idea what he would do for me. He came up to me and said, Richard, why don't you enter the school public speaking competition? I thought, you're having a laugh. Well, I'll get on the stage with my second-hand clothes in me, my ginger hair. But then I thought about it. There was just something about Mr. Hill. He wasn't like a typical teacher. I don't know if there is a typical teacher, but when he spoke to me, right, it was like he was an uncle or something, like a family member. And he encouraged me to take part in this public speaking competition. He said, you can do it. I thought, right, okay. I thought he's not going to ask me to do something that's going to harm me. So I entered this public speaking competition. It was my first I can moment. I can at least try. But what I didn't do is what everybody else did. My competitors. And there's nothing wrong with that. But they stood at the podium. I mean, that's what a podium's for. You stand at the podium, you stand at the lectern. Well, I didn't. I didn't have any posters like they did. Any, flip charts or, do you remember these? Do you remember OHP projectors? With all the acetates. I had none of that, and I nervously climbed the steps onto the stage. I walked across the stage. I walked past the podium. I stood at the edge of the stage. And I spoke. No notes, no posters, no flip charts, about the one thing that I knew a little bit about, you never guess. My dad raced pigeons. I don't know if it's a Yorkshire thing. Anybody here have pigeons at home when they were younger? Anybody ever eaten a pigeon? Shocking. My dad raced them, I knew all about them. Everybody seen that film, Kes? There's Kestrel. Well, mine were pigeons, not kestrels. And I spoke for 5 minutes, but my best bit was at the end. I said, excuse me, before I go, I'm just going to show you something. And I walked to the side of the stage, behind the curtains on the floor, in a cardboard box. Can you guess what I brought with me? Can you guess? Hedgehog. No, it was a pigeon. I was extending its wings on stage. They loved it. I let the pigeon go out the double doors at the side of the hall. Whoosh, off it went. Got this massive round of applause. I told myself, I can, I will, and I did. Because you're teachers, TAs and such like, let me tell you a bit of extra detail that I don't normally share in the corporate world. Before the presentation, Mr. Hill gets me out of the corridor, just outside the staff room. He said, Richard, do these pigeons that you're speaking about, how do you think they get home? I said, I have no idea. He said, but if you had to give an answer, what would you give? I said, well, because I'd taken physics. I said, well, maybe it's to do with the magnetic forces on the planet. Okay. Did my 5-minute talk, let the pigeon go. Each speaker had to answer one question from a teacher. Mr. Hill stands up at the side of the hall. He said, Richard, have you given any thought to how these pigeons get home? I said, great question. I said, it's never been proven, but I think it's to do with the magnetic forces on the planet. He primed me for success. And I'm sure he did it with everybody else. But he didn't have to do that. He just went a little bit further to make it a little bit easier for me. Can you imagine how proud I felt? Can you? Can you imagine how proud I felt the next day in assembly when Mr. Stanley, the head of school, the new head of school, announced that Richard McCann, with his talk on pigeons, I won first place. Let me tell you, it was a life-changing moment. Because that's what teachers do. That's what some teachers do. But actually, all teachers can do this. I'm not saying that you're not doing it, by the way, but is there more you could do? It is not a coincidence that I got that encouragement from Mr. Hill 37 years ago, and I'm stood in front of you right now. Funnily enough, in front of the teachers. It's not a coincidence. He had no idea. Neither of us had any idea the difference that it would make in my life.